Step into the A&M.
Money may not buy you a championship, but one thing's for certain. Money can buy you a championship coach. And that's exactly what A&M is now getting with Jimbo Fisher. 10 years, $75 million, big ones. That's what it took for A&M to wrestle Fisher away from Florida State, where he had won a national title. He had won 3 ACC championships, got to a college football playoff, won 78% of his games, and can recruit big time. We're talking about a coach that will try to turn Texas A&M into that contender that we saw, just 6 years ago when Kevin Sumlin took over that program, won 11 games that year, but Sumlin only averaged 8 wins per season since. In some programs, that's pretty good. And A&M doesn't cut the mustard, and that's why Sumlin got shown the door and is now at Arizona. You bring in Jimbo Fisher, you're going to bring in a different offense and a new offensive coordinator, Darryl Dickey. That's right, the former Memphis offensive coordinator, whose Tigers last year averaged 45 points per game. A&M last year averaged 33 points per game, which wasn't bad as far as SEC offenses went if you compare them with the other ones. Now, we'll see who the quarterback will be in Dickey's offensive system, which will feature more of a 2 running back set. It's not going to be up-tempo, and you will see the tight end used more often. 2-man battle for QB right now. You can go with Nick Starkel, who saw significant action late last season, had a QB rating of 150, 14 TDs to just 6 picks. Kellen Mond, not as good of a passer, but is more of an athletic type QB. Matter of fact, rushed for 340 yards last year and had 3 touchdowns. And overall, as far as passing, 8 TDs to 6 picks, 108 QB rating. So stats not quite as good throwing as Starkel. I would probably say Starkel would get the job, not just because of the productivity last year, but because Jimbo Fisher offenses generally don't have the quarterback running the ball as frequently as what a Kevin Sumlin offense might. So probably Starkel will get the edge. But here I am in late July making this forecast. Running back, you get Travion Williams back, a guy who's had almost 2,000 yards rushing in his career. Now, year number 3 last year, about 800 yards rushing and had 8 TDs. Kendall Bussey, I think we'll see action too. Again, this will be a 2 running back set. He averaged more yards per carry than Williams did at 5.1, but of course didn't see nearly as much time. Wide receiver, a big void here. In fact, 2 voids. The big one being Christian Kirk. Decided not to stick around one more year, decided to be a part of the NFL. He's with Arizona. And Damian Ratley, not there anymore either. So Jamon Osborne now will be the number 1 guy, 50 receptions a year ago, 3 touchdowns, and had close to 600 yards receiving. You also bring in Cameron Buckley, who had about 17 yards per catch. Pretty good. Again, the tight end's going to be used more often, so you'll use the one-time JUCO player Jace Sternberger to play that tight end spot. An offensive line does return some talent. Eric McCoy now will be a 4-year starter entering his senior year, and you bring in the left guard in Keaton Sutherland. But Coda Martin, not there anymore, the one-time left tackle. He transferred to Syracuse. Highlighting the Aggie defense, last year they did some things well, not everything though. As far as the positives, they were one of the best teams in the country in quarterback sacks. 43 for the season, 5th best in the country, and they had a very high number as far as tackles for loss. So that wasn't the problem at all. Of course, the big problem for the Aggies last year was they gave up a lot of points per game, 31 as a matter of fact, 5th worst in the SEC. John Chavis, he's now at Arkansas, so you bring in Mike Elko, who was only at Notre Dame for 1 year, but made a big impact. In 2016, the Irish were bad on defense, but last year they made tremendous strides, finishing 46th in team defense and only giving up 22 points per game. The Aggies, as I mentioned earlier, gave up 31 per game. So this is one area where A&M fans have got to be optimistic that they can, prevent giving up so many damn points. Last year, red zone defense, opponents gotten to A&M's 20-yard line 54 times. That's a lot. Now those 54 times, 38 of them resulted in the touchdowns. Way too high. But good news for the Aggies, they do return a big chunk of that front 7 that was so responsible for getting to the quarterback and making tackles for loss common. We're talking about Dalen Mack and Kinsley Keke. That defensive tackle duo Kiki had 54 stops a year ago. And at defensive end, you get back Landis Dunham, 10.5 tackles for loss. So he's definitely going to be one to watch. You're looking at the linebacking core. Tyrell Dobson's back, 105 stops for the Aggies. Alongside him, you have Otaro Aleka, a veteran, 78 tackles, including 12 for loss. He's a good one. Secondary, though, was largely inexperienced in 2017, especially at the corner. 6'5" tall Clifford Chapman definitely has the ability, but started last year as a freshman and got exposed a lot. We'll see if he's gotten better now entering his sophomore year. On the other side, Charles Oliver at 6'2", so you got, no question, a tall duo at the corners. Safety will miss Armani Watts now in the NFL, but you do return Derek Tucker at the safety, 55 stops, and you have Donovan Wilson back, who will play safety too. Place kicking was a little bit shaky 2 years ago, but last year, as you could tell, it was a tremendous improvement. A&M only missed 3 field goals in 2017, so that was an upgrade there. The Aggie schedule does mean business in the month of September with 2 big-time games. Of course, the second game of the season, Clemson. Yeah, Dabo Sweeney, he just thought that he saw the last of the Tigers. Of course, Florida State, a big rival of Clemson's. And we'll say this at least. Fisher is 4-4 a lifetime against Dabo, but Clemson's thinking about college football playoff again. I'm not sure if this Aggie team is up to that challenge. Later in the month, another big-time challenge. Speaking of college football playoff teams, Alabama. You had to play that one on the road. With only 4 true road games for the Aggies on the schedule. The Arkansas game, of course, at Jerry World in Arlington, where the Aggies have had a lot of success against the Razorbacks. At least the season closes with back-to-back-to-back games at Kyle Field, including the finale against LSU. Kevin Sumlin was 0-6 lifetime against the Tigers during his SEC run. I think whatever happens for Jimbo Fisher's team, this season is a free pass for him. It would be asking heaven and earth for them to win the SEC West. After all, it is a juggernaut of a division, at least in year number 1. But with his coaching alone and the talent that he is getting in future seasons, A&M is going to make a lot of noise. That's my look at the Aggies. See you next time.